Hey guys! So, what scientific breakthrough are we closer to than most people realize?
Insanely effective cancer treatments. Cell therapy is absolutely crazy, and it's available for a fair few diseases.
I've lived for almost 8 years with a very rare form of stage 4 kidney cancer. They told me back then they can't promise me more than a few months, but we will see what happens. Thank you immunotherapy and targeted therapy for 8 bonus years with my wife and kids. I hope there is more innovation coming soon.
Aw, I love hearing this. Well, not the you have cancer part. My dad was also diagnosed with stage 4 cancer years ago and given a few months, but immunotherapy has been incredible for him. Amazingly, he's turning 80 this year. I'm hoping that the same is true for you one day.
Definitely this. This is the reason I didn't go into radiation therapy physics. I feel the need for radiation therapy will drastically decrease in the near future.
A cure for HIV seems to be on the horizon. Some scientists managed to cut it out of cells using CRISPR last year.
CRISPR is still being studied, but we have indeed cured HIV. The catch is that it requires a bone marrow transplant, which is much more dangerous than HIV. Google the Berlin patient.
HIV mutates rapidly, leading to fun elements in treatment such as if you miss as little as 1 dose of your med, you can't take that med again, ever.
Genetic editing. I think we'll soon see news of experimental gene therapy treatments for cancer, diabetes, and, perhaps, Alzheimer's. CRISPR-9 and all. The next logical step would be designer babies for anyone who can afford to pay big bucks for their little cutie patootie.
I think designer babies will be banned, and the tech will be limited to fixing medical problems. It's just too creepy and unnatural sounding to most humans. Eugenics, anyone? Hello? Only thing I could see is super rich people doing it on the black market.
I have a lot of family that works in different pharma companies. We were recently discussing that there is a very promising treatment for Alzheimer's in the works that could stop the progression of the disease and maybe reverse some of the brain damage. It's still in testing phase and wouldn't be on the market for years, but it's something that would be awesome to be able to use.
That's a tough one to let yourself get excited about. The whole business with Biogen did a lot of damage.
A nuclear fusion reaction that sets a new record for duration or temperature. One step closer to cheaper energy costs.
Nuclear fusion is a process in which 2 or more atoms are fused together. It's the same reaction that powers the sun. Our current form of nuclear energy relies on nuclear fission, which is an opposite reaction where 2 or more atoms are split apart. It's an emissions-free form of energy, but creates a good amount of nuclear byproduct/waste. The core principle behind nuclear fusion is that you get more energy out of the reaction than you put into it. So if we can manage to successfully harness the power of fusion reactions at scale, which I'm almost certain that we will eventually, that pretty much means humanity will have a near limitless source of energy that is cleaner, safer, and more sustainable than any other energy source we're currently aware of. It would almost completely remove our dependence on fossil fuels, eliminate a huge portion of our greenhouse gas emissions, and help start the process of reversing the effects of climate change. We're likely still a long ways off, but it will single-handedly be the greatest scientific breakthrough in human history if we're able to pull it off.
Brain-computer interface. I worked on one 10 years ago. It barely worked, but you could see the potential. However, a few weeks ago someone played a 6-hour Civilization 6 session using only their brain.
10+ years of playing Dota, and I have never, for once in my lobbies, seen a player using their brains in a match. Myself included. We need this.
Treating depression with neuromodulation therapy instead of medications. Stanford is heavily involved in clinical trials using their SAINT treatment. It essentially uses transcranial magnetic stimulation in a similar way to DBS but is less invasive and better tolerated. I'm trying to get into one of their clinical trials. I'm looking forward to a day when I don't need medication to stop me from wanting to die. I'm on antidepressant number 7 or 8 at this point, and finding one that works, doesn't make me manic, doesn't kill my libido, and doesn't make me gain weight is impossible. Currently taking vilazodone, which isn't too bad, but probably not as efficacious as it should be. I will say that after years of missing Frisson, I'm finally back to getting those goosebumps whenever I listen to music that hits just so. My doc thought this was unusual but super cool. My doc is also very supportive of me perusing that clinical trial. The coolest part is that if you're in the placebo group, they will give you the real therapy after the trial is over.
Hi, I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same treatment I undertook last summer. I live in Ontario, Canada, and it cost me $10,000 out of pocket. I have bipolar 2 and was going through the worst depressive episode I've ever experienced. To say this treatment saved my life is an understatement. It took 2 weeks of multiple sessions a day. While the effects weren't permanent, my God. I felt so at peace, and for once, the world was beautiful. It was like something in me came alive. I remember thinking to myself at one point, this is what I've been missing out on? My PTSD scores, depression scores, anxiety scores were pretty much maxed out, in the red zone, before I started treatment. On my last set of tests, I was back in the green.
A technological leap forward in battery storage capacity, cheaper and lighter weight. This will have the biggest impact on everyday life.
Understanding how hormones and mental illness are linked, especially in women who previously were diagnosed with mental illness but who had endocrine disorders. And to add, menopause. In response to the Lancet's awful claim of over-medicalization, scores of researchers the world over have doubled down to learn more.
Synthetic biology. Stuff's going to get weird real soon. Less Spider-Mans, more Venoms out there.
Imagine living comfortably to 100, 200 years old.
Quantum computing. It can solve complex problems in seconds that would take conventional computers millennia.
The answer to the ultimate question will still be 42. If you know, you know.
Artificial intelligence in medicine and surgery. We have already started using it. It's just a matter of time when healthcare will be dominated by it. Finally, no more $2,000 doctor visits just to be told to take some painkillers and rest.
Ha ha ha. I cannot wait for the day when it's a race between an algorithm and my insurance company to see who can deny the meds my doctor prescribes. Emotionless sentient know-it-alls versus corporates greedy folks.
This is rather an engineering issue, but a lot of scientists are working on this as well. RGB micro-LED displays. We can currently build fairly efficient blue and green micro-LEDs from indium gallium nitride, but the red ones are missing. Red LEDs have been available for much longer than their blue counterparts, but we currently cannot make them small enough for a high PPI display. Many researchers and companies are trying to get the red ones working with several different approaches, and I believe we will see the first commercial applications, starting from smartwatches, smartphones, and AR/VR goggles within the next 5 years.
Hamburger earmuffs.
Growing transplantable organs. With the LIGO Space Telescope, we are learning far more about our universe that the Hubble's Visible Light Telescope could not capture. It is not like what we thought in enormous ways. These changes will matter. I expect a lot more cancer vaccines coming out. If cancer numbers are reduced, the need for therapies are reduced, too.
Early diagnosis and treatment of Parkinson's, I think. I've been following a story for a few years now of a woman who could smell Parkinson's and is now working with researchers to turn her weird unique ability into an early screening test.
Semaglutide Ozempic Wegovy, in pill form at a greatly reduced price. Wegovy also has been proven to reduce cardiovascular disease in particular, and make recurring cardiac events less likely for patients who've already experienced a cardiac event. Some independent pharmacies are already creating semaglutide pills.
The breakthrough happened cleaning the oceans of garbage. Now it needs to be more than a ship or two.
Curing deafness.
I hope they can find a cure to tinnitus. It's not worse than being deaf. Right? It's not, is it?